Welcome to the buy list. This is episode 30.
This is not financial advice. This is cardboard. As you can tell, I'm not at my house. I am in Plano, Texas, sweating bullets because it is 105 degrees.
Oh,
So you will not have cards thrown at you this week, and I am deeply sorry for that.
yeah.
Um,
So it's good, Nate.
Ripped 152 boxes of Dusk done. So that was fun
Yeah.
and stressful. And I had a very busy weekend. And now I'm in Texas. So
Even busier.
yeah, if you bought cards from me, thank you. The support is awesome. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. Broke even probably sometime Saturday.
Nice.
So I've got my full play set now and got some leftover remnants that still need to move. But
Very cool.
I just wanted to make sure everything was out the door by Monday because I knew I had to leave.
Yeah. So Nate, how cool is a Battle Hardened the Saturday after a Friday launch of a new set?
I actually don't like it.
It's tough on players, man.
It's very tough on play. And so a little peek. I don't think that Michael Hamilton would mind me sharing this. So I was talking to him Friday and he didn't order a Levia and he was playing Levia. And it was $150 on like SCG's website. And he's like, to drive to a Battle Hardened, spend $150 on a legendary for a set that just opened to basically like, in most cases, like that money's probably getting lit on fire for the most part.
Yeah.
Like that's not a great feeling. So I think that if and we see it already with Chicago. Chicago sold out at 128, and they're actually gonna have to up capacity, and they're going to because MinMax is awesome.
Yeah.
Like they run great events there. Every time I've gone to one of their events, I've been very, very like happy with how it's run, the prize support they give out. It's really cool to see. And I think if it's the week after release, a lot easier for players to kind of get a feel for what they're going to open, get the cards in their hands.
Yeah.
Have a little bit more time than just like, oh, Friday, I got to rip all my boxes open real quick, try to find what I need and play a deck.
Yeah, I think you saw a little bit of that in the meta breakdown, right? There was 2 Vinsets and 1 Prism. I don't think that's necessarily a reflection of their playability. I think it's more, or like the excitement for those heroes. I think the excitement for those heroes are really high. But you just like players just like you said, you to get a Prism deck together or a Vincent deck together, you were paying lots of money and then going to the event paying money to the vendors there, which is fine, but also, then you're playing a deck you have like minimal reps on, and it's kind of a tough sled. I mean, overall, like, yeah, as a competitor, I think it's a little bit tough, but watching it, props to Savage Feats, really well run production. It's amazing how fast they got their feet under them. Like it's like their second or third time doing this. I mean, I know Ethan's been doing this like homebrew version for a while, but like, man, they put together something that rivals SCG or what we've seen in the past, which is really cool to see.
Plus they got my boy Brody on the mic, and that guy, he's a killer when he's slinging the cards. They give him a mic and he crushes it. Like I could not be more proud of him. He did a great job in the booth. I think that it definitely, like, we saw Warmonger's recital on like full display, right? And we can kind of dive into like the early meta cards that we saw like really kind of like show up and show out this weekend. I think if you give it 1 week, we see even more of the new set kind of on full display, which is so like, as someone who like basically I was yeeting singles out the window all weekend. That was like, I'm just tracking down people on Facebook, Discord, TCG Player. Once the Battle Hardened started, that is when things really started to move. It's most everything moved on Saturday, a little bit on Friday, and then kind of some like trickling on Saturday. But once people started to see the full power of these cards, like look at like Scowling Flashback, like Saw that in several stream games.
Yeah, that was the positive thing, I guess, that I was like kind of thinking about with the Battle Hardened, is that it was really cool to see. We actually got 6 cards here to look through, but it was really cool to see these cards that we're going to talk through show up in a big way, or like this early, like the day after. People are like, "Yep, this card's good," slamming in the deck. Like first one here, the Carapace. Yuanji was on Briar, and I know he had it in his deck for sure, and against Icelander it was on the table because obviously Arcane Barrier 2 is really good, right? I
think this card actually might be a mistake, which is funny because when this card first dropped, you hated it. You were like, "This is the stupidest card ever. It just blocks 3 and says Arcane Barrier 2." But if you look at all the other like Arcane Barrier 2 equipment, it's pretty bad. Like there's no block value on it. Like the fact that this blocks both physical and arcane damage is kind of nutty and is very strong.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I didn't like it because you know, the competitors in the chest slot and the rune blade in rune blades is giving you resources, right, to extend your turns, to get those like really pop off turns, right? Either Ironweave gets you 2 resources, play that command and conquer, or keep going with your turn. Even sometimes it's worth, you know, swinging just the sword with, right, to like push over the top. And then also Tunic, right? Briar plays Tunic, so you get your resource there. That's you know, play on the turns, you can pull that off, grab your swing Rosetta Thorn, really good. But yeah, this kind of watching this play out against Icelander, it's like, okay, yeah, there's definitely a spot for it. You know, you like in that matchup alone, yeah, you're already kind of playing slower anyways, so you don't need those resources to extend your turns. Maybe sometimes you would like them, but you know, I think this is, like you said, it's a pretty strong card. It's like a technically strong card. It's not like a flashy strong card, right? Yes, or like on the flip side of this graphic, Scowling Fleshbag, the text on that card, oh boy.
Yeah. Like that's like I'm sorry, I barely speak English. I can't even pronounce it. I just call it Carapace, Carpe Diem, whatever the heck this card's called.
Dyadic Carapace. The Carapace.
It's the wound. Yeah, Carapace, whatever, sure, whatever. it's the wounded bull of equipment. It's not something where you pick it up and you're like, oh my goodness, how could they put this on a card? It's literally just wounded bulls. Like, when it blocks 2, hex for 7, cost 3. That doesn't seem very good. Throw that in the binder. But I think like it really just has a ton of value built into it.
Yeah.
And it's like, and we're talking about like Scowling Fleshbag, like that card reads very, very well.
Yeah. You instantly, as soon as you're done reading it, you're like, oh boy. Yeah.
And like right now, the legendaries from this set that are holding the most value outside of the Levia are going to be the like Scowling Fleshbag, the Carapace, and the Rapture thing.
Oh yeah, Empyrean Rapture, yeah, for sure.
Which is surprising. I thought the Versus would actually be. I'm very surprised the Versus is not holding more value. That card is kind of insane too.
That one might be an early meta casualty. I think it'll come back.
Yeah, once people see like the strength of the card, they're like, "Oh, I actually need to get that. Brave Forge sucks."
Or I think Dory. I don't know if I've said it on. I know we've talked about it, but I think Dory is in maybe an okay spot to like come back, especially with Oldhim gone. So like you could see Versus pop back up once people. It was so early, man. It was Saturday, so yeah, that one could come back. Yeah, not to leave it out here, but Meeps as well. I think Yuanji was playing that, and I mean, I think it does fit kind of a cool role in Briar, right? It's a natural go again card. It costs 1, attacks for 2, but in Briar, you're obviously playing pumps, channel Ma Heroic, sometimes Nimblism. Actually, I think he was playing Nimblism because he was playing Nimble Strike. So like this coming in for 5, so it hits that natural break point, right? So you can't just block this with a card anymore, or a 2 card, you know what I mean? It's awkward to block, and it's drawing a card. It's like, whoa, actually, wait, hold on a second. That's kind of strong. So like this one didn't make a huge splash, but like when I saw it, it kind of raised my eyebrow, and I was like, okay, I see that.
Yeah. It fills a very unique role. So heading into Worlds, when we were testing, Brody was running yellow snatches to force additional interaction in the aggro mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
And this card is basically a blue snatch with go again, which is insane.
Yeah.
Like that. Also, just the constant. It's like every set they just have to. They're so scared of dash being broken. They're like, gonna put another little hit card in there because we're scared of dash.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, whoever at LSS, like,
they're scared of the natural go again. I think, right? They obviously don't ever want to. They're never going to print chain again. So I think like dash is the closest thing to a chain type power, and like I think if anything, that would be my bet, is that they're scared that it can just go super wide and just be like go again, go again, go again, go again.
I don't
maybe,
no
but they keep pounding at it. Yeah.
Brian Gottlieb, hit us up. Let us know who at LSS was abused by dash to the point where they sneak one card in every single set that just hates out dash. Yeah. Like, let us know who it was.
Brian, come on the pod. Let us know.
Yeah, come on, Brian.
Yeah. But yeah, this card's just solid, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be an aggressive staple, and especially in aggressive metas, being able to force interaction with your opponent is very powerful. So I think this is a card that will ebb and flow in and out of the meta, but I think it's an amazing Briar card. And like in the future, I could see this in like Fi because it's 2 base. Like Katsu, like a very aggressive Katsu list. Like you're running this and snatches, and it's just like Kadachi meets. It's like draw 2.
Yeah,
I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's definitely something to keep an eye on and look at. But definitely had a good showing this weekend too.
Yep. Yeah, and then we've already kind of like jumped around on it, but Scowling Fleshbag did show up in a big way.
Yep.
Oh shoot, I can't remember what featured match it was, but it was just, I think most of the, the Levias were playing it, right? So it's just like, man, it's just devastating sometimes. I think maybe it was the first match of the day. It shut down a dash turn quite literally in its tracks because it was just like, Michael Hamilton's match. It was just like, oh, you get to set that card over there, and then you don't have any resources, and okay, your turn's over, which is like, wow, it's so good, man.
Yep.
And it blocks for 2, so real good.
Yep. Great card.
All right, let's jump into, we saved I think, so I set this up. These 3, I think, the first 3 were nice. The first 3 were like, oh, that's fun. I love to see those cards are fun to see in matches. These kind of hit a different stride. We can start with Lost in Thought. Nate, I know I don't think you've been vocal on the pad. You haven't been vocal on this show just yet, I don't think.
Yeah.
But Lost in Thought surprised me. It did some things in Dromai that I was like, oh. The ability, because it cost 1, like, and face value looks terrible. You're like, oh, why do I have to pay 1 for this? But then you're like, oh, I get an Ash. And then Mara played this out to amazing effect, ripping blue cards out of her opponent's hand, and then her opponent just couldn't do anything for the next turn. And it was just like, wow, quite strong. When it showed up strong. Is it going to be a staple? Nate, you got no comment on it.
I don't. So I think it is basically a sideboard card for decks with poppers or decks that have like a very defined resource base. Like this is unplayable into like Dory. Like take a card out of Bolton's hand. Bolton does it already by himself. He just puts it in his soul. He's like, whatever. I can barely play the game anyways. Like it's specifically good against like Brutes and Guardians where you can pull like a resource card or like a big dumb attack that you don't feel like dealing with. But
I think it's decent into Rune Blades as well. Polar
I just don't
blue
think you have
or...
you need 2 cards to play this. So like,
Yeah.
what are you taking to your face hole from the Rune Blades to play this card? Like, because the Rune Blades will do like 20. So what do you do? Block 6, take 14 to like, I'm gonna take a card out of your hand. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you have 2 blue attacks and 2 red attacks. Well, I guess you're gonna kill me. So I know.
Yeah.
Great, thanks. Oh, and you get a ponder token.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I threw it on here because in practice this weekend it looked pretty good. You know, I think good players will adjust to play around this, but like you said, it's a sideboard card, right? For sure. We can move on to Levia Redeemed. She showed up in a pretty decent way. She's looking. It was early. I think that's the thing, right? And go back to our intro, is that it's early for her, but she was putting in some work, right? Top 8. She had a top 8 appearance, first time ever in a major event. I guess Battle Hardens aren't majors, but regional event, I guess I'll say, which is really good. And yeah, she's got some cards that are not shown here that we're not really going to deep dive into. Skittering Shadowpede is quite nuts. 1 for 6. You know, she got a power up for sure.
Yeah. They gave her the Azalea treatment, which is what we thought they would do. I will say that the cards that sold the best for me over the weekend and the quickest were the Levia cards. And you look at card market data of the top selling cards from this weekend. Warmonger's Diplomacy, number 1. Number 2, Levia. Number 3, Skittering Shadowpede. So there's a lot of people who are wanting to try Levia and play Levia for the first time. So I would not be surprised too if we went back and looked at some of the Monarch Majestics, and see those cards really starting to pump in price too.
Yep.
Because she basically got a full retool, and she looks pretty strong. I think some inherent inconsistencies still with her kit because there's a bunch of no blocks.
I think also it's much harder to flip her than it reads. I think, well, let me put it this way. Flipping the
Blasmo, yes.
Yeah, well, Blasmo, if you're not careful, one thing that I noticed over the weekend, if you're not careful, you can just rip whoopsies 8 cards out of my deck or something. You know, you rip a ton of cards out of your deck, and then all of a sudden now you're like, okay, how do I finish this off? And if your blood deck cards aren't necessarily strong, you're now fatiguing yourself, right? So it's a little sketchy. And then flipping to Redeemed, I think is quite hard too, right?
Yeah, Redeemed is definitely gonna be for those longer grindier games.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then Warmonger just Diplomacy.
Yeah. Dude, we live in that cards world now, dude. Please, if you were watching, and if you didn't watch, go back, do yourself a favor, rewatch some of Savage Feats' coverage. And this card just punched people right in the mouth, dude. Right in the mouth. Got Lexi one time I saw where Lexi had a 6-card hand, 2 arsenals, full card, Rainrazor's face up, ready to rip. And it was war or peace. You tell me. It's womp, womp. You threw 1 arrow, dude.
Yeah, you get 6 0 game actions. Congratulations.
Ooh.
It's it is very good. And it's so, as much as I've talked shit about Trench in the past, as a Lexi gamer, I think you might be mono Trench because this card exists. I think you might not even run Tunic anymore. Maybe this is LSS shadow banning Tunic, because if you can at least trench your card away before Warmonger's recital resolves, at least then you can have a semi-functional turn, right? But if you don't have that capability, sometimes you actually cannot have a turn at all.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's definitely scary. There's only certain decks that can run it though, because you can also juice. You can reverse juice yourself. Rune Blades can't run this card because they can actually juice themselves. Lexi can't run it because she could actually juice herself because she has to choose too. It's But it is a very powerful card that can definitely target like a certain meta game. And it's going to be a stable. It's a blue 0 cost block 3 that has like it's very low deck building constraints. So
yeah, I think Brian Gottlieb's his article for the ban and restricted, when he was like, oh, we just got to wait and see, we're only going to go after bracers because, you know, there's I think because I'd even dropped before the set, or maybe not, but it was like, I think there was a comment in there like, hey, we just hold on a second, there might be some stuff in Dust Till Dawn. I think he was talking about this card. like this card's scary, man. And as a Runeblade player, I'm like, oh please, why? Because like I think Vincent is probably the most immune to it, but she's not fully immune to it, right? Like it's like this thing hits Viz and you're just like, God help me.
Yeah, Viz can't play the game anymore.
Yeah, Viz can't play a game anymore. Go home.
Yeah, Azalea, you can't play the game at all. Like you can maybe shoot an arrow, but that's only if you have to already have the arrow in your arsenal.
Yeah.
Because you can't activate your hero ability. If there's a non-attack in your arsenal, you can't play it.
Yeah.
Or you can't shoot an arrow. So it's like, what do you even do with your life?
Yeah.
The answer is nothing. You
just
cry
inside. We saw it. It kind of hit me. This hit me being a Runeblade stan this weekend, because the other time this card showed up on stream was in the semis, Yoanji versus Rhea.
Yeah.
And she played it 3 times in a row.
Yep.
And yeah, that wrecks Briar.
It brought her back into that game. Like she had no business winning that game, and like single-handedly brought her back into the game.
Yep.
So
yeah, keep an eye on that. I think it's going to be, you know, what do you think? I think it's earned its price at the moment. We'll see what happens to it. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell. Thank you, everyone. Peace.
Peace.